Hey guys, Sonic Smashboy here with some more BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle patch notes. Time for another character, and oh boy, time for easily the most hated character in the entire game, Gordeau. This bastard has single-handedly carried a lot of people and has also over-centralized the metagame. Oh man, there was no getting around the nerf hammer for Gordeau here, and he got hit really hard. This is gonna be fun. Funny enough, the very first thing to look at is actually a small buff to his main gimmick. In his source game, his exist ability was basically to drain meter from his opponent. All moves that do this, including his 5A auto combo under, his 6P, his Mortal Slide Divest, which is his 236 distortion, and his Assimilation Command grabs, all have the following change. They no longer grant the opponent's skill gauge on hit, and the absorption property is now strengthened based on the change above. It's a small buff, but that's really the only breather he gets. Next up, we're looking at Gordeau's 5A, Decreased Frame Advantage, basically less advantage on block. It's a nerf, plain and simple. Now, if you want to talk about normals that were abused 24/7, look no further than Gordeau's 5B. Decreased active frames, and the move no longer hits an opponent above a certain height. These are some pretty notable nerfs because Gordeau could basically fish for 6k plus for no effort whatsoever. So I am really glad they are nerfing this normal at least a bit. And it's actually time to look at the follow-up to that, which is his 5B auto combo ender. You saw it earlier, but they are decreasing the frame advantage. I think this means the 5B auto combo into 2C will no longer be a true block string, so a well-timed DP will pretty much beat it out, or it'll at least be easier to beat that out. That is going to be a major nerf to Gordeau. Next up, 2A, which is honestly a normal I don't see people use a lot except for reverse beat. Increased startup frames, decreased frame advantage. Basically, reverse beat pressure with 2A is going to be weakened. That's the main reason I see it used, and that's also the main reason that this is getting nerfed. Reverse beat pressure from Gordeau, considering the range of that 5B, was really stupid. Now we are looking at probably my most hated normal with Gordeau. Yes, more so than 5B even, his 2B. Increased additional duration of the second hit, lowered blowback height, and decreased frame advantage, likely on block. They did keep this as a low, but what they did do is make it so that the second hit now does less damage and makes the scaling pretty notable. The lowered blowback height, I believe, is to compensate for the 5B nerf, but the decrease in frame advantage is pretty huge. That normal got nerfed in a way that I didn't want to see at first, but I'm actually kind of glad they did it this way. This is something I didn't think they would do, and I'm actually kind of surprised Arxis outdid themselves with this one. They outdid my expectations, at least. Pretty good nerf, and also kept it as a pretty decent normal. Now we are looking at Gordeau's Aerial Precise Aim, which you saw me end my usual 5B Gordeau combo with. This is basically his aerial DP. The move can now deal an additional attack if the attack hits the opponent's main character. It's a small little thing, and it's not much of a buff, but it's there, I guess. Oh boy, it's time for the big one. The signature move that has pushed Gordeau to top tier status, hands down. Decreased damage. Decreased knockback distance. No longer hits an opponent that is behind Gordeau, and the move no longer hits an opponent above a certain height. Yeah, they are going overhaul on Grim Reaper. This move was single-handedly the main reason why Gordeau was so bullshit with Ruby. For shit like this. Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous. So, with Grim Reaper getting nerfed pretty severely, I might add, this move is still going to be useful, I feel, just not insanely spammable. Thank God. Next up, weirdly enough, we're looking at B Assimilation, which is anti-air grab and my usual combo ender grab in situations like that. Delayed the activation timing of head attribute invulnerability, basically making this a weaker anti-air. But really, you're not using that for an anti-air too much, I feel. It's mostly a combo ender. So, it's a small nerf, it's nothing major, to be honest, especially compared to the Grim Reaper nerf. Good God. Next up, we are looking at Gordeau's 5P, which, as you may know, it got pretty similar nerfs to the actual Grim Reaper proper, just not all of them. Decreased damage and move no longer hits an opponent above a certain height. That's really all that one got. It's still a really strong assist, it's just not absolutely ridiculous anymore. It was one of the most bullshit assists in the game for a reason after all. Not quite on par with Hyde's assists, but good God, it was borderline mindless at times. So, at least they're nerfing that a little bit. And the final thing to look at is Gordeau's partner KO entry attack, basically the incoming after your opponent takes out one of your characters. The move no longer hits an opponent above a certain height. Thank God, because let's be real, that hitbox was absolutely bullshit. You basically had to high jump, double jump to get above that. So, yeah, that is a nerf to Gordeau, and a notable one, but at the very least it's still going to be one of the more farther-reaching incoming attacks in the game. Just not quite absolute bullshit anymore with how massive that hitbox is for no reason. So, what's my final verdict on Gordeau with these changes? He was severely nerfed. This character really needed major nerfs, and they went in big time. With how little effort you had to put in beforehand with Gordeau, these nerfs are pretty massive, and the cross-combo nerf is already pretty notable against Gordeau as it is. So Gordeau, of all characters in the game in my opinion, is getting hit the hardest, as I feel he should be. Truth be told, I still think he's going to be really strong, and he's going to keep what made him such a beginner-friendly character. He's just not going to be absolute bullshit anymore. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of Gordeau mains, if they're willing to, can still play the character and make him work. It's just those who just rely on brain-dead shit that are going to drop him. This might actually make Gordeau more fun for me to play, having to actually somewhat try. Because yeah, I legitimately do not have fun playing Gordeau. Way too easy in my opinion, for how much reward he gets. Need I remind you he has one of the stupidest corner combos in the game, which I think might actually be gone too. Yeah, that's 8k by itself. That's insane. So, overall, I think Gordeau is still going to be really good, but a lot of his shit is getting heavily nerfed. And like I said a minute ago, in my opinion, he is probably the most nerfed character out of this entire patch. As he should be, though, to be honest. But that said, I want to hear from you guys. To those of you who actually do play Gordeau, will you keep playing him, or will you outright drop him because he's not brain dead anymore? Well, that said, until the next character, later guys.